minutes. So I'd like to call to order tonight's Town of Ayer Select Board meeting for Tuesday, October 5th, 2021. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, in accordance with Chapter 20 of the Act of 2021, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, public bodies otherwise governed by the open meeting law are temporarily relieved from the requirement that meetings be held in public places, open and physically accessible to the public, so long as measures are taken to ensure public access to the body's deliberations through adequate alternative means. This meeting will be live on Zoom and Channel 8. The public may participate remotely by joining Zoom, meeting ID number 897-9080-0793, or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, the Assistant Town Manager, at atm@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220 extension 100 prior to the meeting. The first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance. We could all stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The second item would be a review and approval of the agenda. Do Scott or Janice, do either of you have any changes to tonight's agenda?
I have none.
Okay, I'll take a motion to approve agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I will second.
Okay, and since we are remote, we will be doing roll call votes. Board Member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board Member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, and the agenda is approved as presented. I do have one announcement for this evening, and that is that Ayer will welcome back trick-or-treating this year. As a town event, trick-or-treating will be on Sunday, October 31st, so actually on Halloween from 6 to 8 p.m. With that being the only announcement, brings us to our next section, would be public input. Is there anybody on the line or on Zoom for public input? Okay, so not hearing or seeing anybody come forward for public input, we will move on to our first item on the agenda, which is a change in the manager application for Bar 25 at 25 Main Street. And Mr. Pomperan, do you want to just give us a little information about this application?
Mr. Chair, if there is an objection, through you, yield to the Assistant Town Manager to present the overview.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you, Robert. So we had received an application back in September 20th from Bar 25. They're looking to change their manager from Mojin Amini, who is their current manager, to Sydney Wyman. Sydney's been employed there for some time, since probably they opened or very shortly thereafter. Sydney is available on the line. I see her here. So this was presented to all the department heads in town. There were no issues from anyone, excuse me. So if this passes tonight, what we'll do is send it over to the ABCC, and then once they approve it, then the change in manager is official.
Okay, thank you, Carly. Scott or Janice, any questions regarding this change of manager?
No questions.
Okay, and after review, I did not have any as well. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the change of manager.
I'll make a motion that the select board approve the change of manager for bar 25 to Sydney Wyman.
Seconded.
Okay, motion's made. Board Member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board Member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. And the change of manager is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is the application for entertainment license for 38 Main Street for Digital Clouds LLC for automotive racing simulators. Ms. Antonellis, do you want to present this as well?
Sure. I received a call a couple weeks ago from Chad Fox, and Chad is on the line. I saw him earlier. Up, yep. So Chad is the owner. It was the vape shop downtown, over on the opposite side of Main Street from Town Hall. He's looking to change up his his business model from going from the vaping to these auto race simulators. So he's looking to have up to 3, but Chad's on the line and certainly could explain the auto race simulators better than I could.
All right. Yeah, Chad, if you don't mind, just kind of giving a little bit of detail about what those are, how they operate.
Yes, hi, good evening. So I have sim raced myself for a long time. So basically they're more of they're partially entertainment and partially people use them at home for training tools because we live in New England. We have winters off from automotive racing. I myself am an auto racer as well in real life, as well as in simulators. So I build and design these as well as what I'd like to do is rent these, I guess, because they're not coin op or anything like that. They would be rental like per hour, essentially, for people to try them. Some people just don't have the capital to buy one and put them in their homes. So that would kind of be the one side of the business, is to put them in the seat and kind of get them to where they can continue educating themselves about automotive racing in a safe environment. And the second part of that is that I sell certain aspects of simulators, whether it's like the chassis and frame and or parts that go on them. So.
And would this be in addition to your vape business as well?
No, that business is closed as of August 30th, August 31st, whatever the date was of this year.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And Mr. Chair, same with this. It's been seen by all the departments. There were no issues.
Okay. Scott or Janice, do you have any questions?
No questions. Seems straightforward.
Janice.
I didn't mute it for a second. So if I wanted to, I could rent this and I'd be sitting here in this simulator and just practice driving. I just want to make sure I'm comprehending what I'm looking at and heard, right?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Actually, it sounds kind of cool.
I can't
Yeah, I was gonna say,
turn my video on.
Chad, just for like personal knowledge, I guess, is this similar to what like NASCAR drivers would use in for training and off season and stuff?
Absolutely. So a lot of professional drivers use these, and I actually have a friend who has a whole other business model within the sim racing world, which is he does remote training and instruction and things like this. So there is professional uses for this. There is entertainment uses for it. Kind of really, you get a full run of uses for the product.
Okay. Thank you. That I don't have any other questions. Scott or Janice?
I have none.
All right, if there's no objections, I'll take a motion to approve the change of business model.
I'll make a motion to change that the select board approve the change of business model for 38 Main Street to the automotive racing simulators as presented.
I will second.
Okay, Board Member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board Member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The entertainment license application is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. All right, that brings us up to our presentation on the proposed 40B comprehensive permit project, sorry, at 65 Fitchburg Road. And it looks like we have on Zoom with us Phil Giffey. I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly.
Phil Giffey. I didn't hear you, but I was muted anyway. So
okay, Phil Giffey.
Yes.
Will you be doing the presentation this evening?
I'll be doing part of it. I'm joined by Frank Valdez, who I see here, our architect, and I think I just see Annika Lambert, our project manager, just pop in as well. So
okay, perfect. Welcome, you guys, and thank you for being here tonight.
well, we're really pleased to be here to see everybody, quote unquote, I guess air quotes with the proper term these days. I know Scott Shaw, who has been with us for these number of months and has got accelerated the project, unfortunately was retrieved by the private sector recently. So he's still consulting with us a little bit, but you'll see more of Annika and myself for better or worse on these days, and joined by Frank, who will give a great presentation tonight. So I think we just want to say hello. We're very glad to be here to present, I think, a friendly 40B process. Our project eligibility letter, I think, is in and whatnot. We're talking about a two-phase project on 65 Fitchburg Road, which is about 111,000. I can't remember the square footage, but it's well over 100,000 square feet, 140,000 square feet up the road there. I think you've been up there a little bit, have seen the site and whatnot, wetlands nearby. It's a two-phase project. I think there's 64 units in the first phase. I think 42 in the second phase. It's sort of a mixed income workforce affordable housing presentation, two phases. There's going to be a community center of a one-story of about 2,000 square feet or so. I'll let Frank describe all that and not hazard my best guesses on that. Annika can give you all the numbers that you'd like on this as we go through it, but we're happy to be here and talk about this particular development, which we hope will add value to the town. We're very glad to be there and have felt very welcome so far in the times that we've met formally and informally in town, and look forward to working with you throughout this process. So I think that's just an overview. You might or may not know a little bit about NOAA. We've done a lot of work in East Boston. We're 35 years old. We have a whole portfolio of single family, 3-deckers, multifamily units in the neighborhood where we do a lot of rehabilitation. We try to keep people in their units. That is, we've bought 18 buildings in the past couple of years, try to keep people from being displaced. But we have a longer term portfolio on that. We do a lot of work in the suburbs now, from Taunton, where we have a deal going, to Carlisle, Webster, North Andover, and on places and more coming, one in Attleboro as well. So we're happy to be here. We know how to do this work. We work with great teams. We worked with Frank at DeMello Schaefer before a number of projects. They're great designers, and we look forward to working with you throughout this process. And again, it's a friendly 40B, which we are attuned to do. So we're glad to be here and glad that Annika and Frank are joined in this particular moment. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it over to Frank Valdez from DeMello Schaefer, if that's the appropriate way to proceed. And we're happy to keep answering questions you may have them. Thank you.
Sure. And Frank, just before you start, in case anybody's not seeing the chat, we are going to allow for a question and answer period at the end of the presentation. So, Frank, turn it over to you.
Sure, and you will be emceeing the questions. Can I assume that?
Yeah, so if there's people on that would like to ask them directly, that's fine. If they are presenting them in the chat feature, then I will go ahead and read those.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right, thank you, Frank.
Let me start. And let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. So I will start with the overall development and the site plan. As you can see here, it's a two-phase development, with phase one, as Phil expressed, is a 64-unit development. And you can see that 64 unit development being comprised of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 buildings, 6 of them being residential facilities, 1 of them being the community center of the complex. Phase 2 is comprised of a larger building that would be comprised of 42 units to be built at a later phase. The focus right now is really the beginning part of the first initial development. The buildings in the front that you're seeing on Fitchburg Road are basically 2-story buildings. And I could show elevations as we move forward. They're 2-story buildings comprised of a building, what we refer to as Building C, with the 3-bedroom units. There will be then 2 buildings, as you can see on either end, that will be comprised of 1 bedrooms. And then the 2 in the middle will be comprised of the 2 bedrooms. In the back, we have a 3-story building, which will have a mix of apartments from 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms within that. One of the biggest things that we've tried to do in the development, and I would like to point that out, is the red line that you're seeing is the 100-foot wetland setback. And one of the things that we've tried to do is really keep as much of the buildable and physical components of the development outside of that. And we've rearranged our roads, we've rearranged our parking and our buildings in order to be able to mitigate that impact to the wetlands. And as you can begin to see, though, we do hit the 100-foot wetlands, and certain points it's really become a road impact and minimal component. There is no buildings within that. Here you can see one of our landscape plans already. We're trying to really create this as a community that is abrasive and is enhancing the development, not only from the street component, but also from within the inside of the development. We really want to create a development that is friendly and cohesive. One of the things that we've tried to do is really develop the parking in such a way that it is not a 2-way parking. So we try to minimize parking in both aisles so that it does not look like a sea of parking. And we've tried to create parallel parking as much as possible to be able to create the perception of like just really a friendlier development that is not seen initially as a hugely parking driven. These are some of the plans of the development. What you're seeing here is what we refer to as the multiplex A, which is the 1-bedroom duplex. It's 2 floors with 8 units in total. What we have here is the multiplex B, which is the building composed of 2 bedrooms. And it's, again, 2 stories, and it is 8 units in total. And then we have our 3-bedroom duplex, which is 2 floors composed of 3 bedrooms.
Frank, can you describe how many square feet are in each one, please?
Yes. Let me go back here in the development. So basically on buildings A1, which is the 1-bedroom buildings, we have 8 units. Each unit is about 686 square feet. And we have a total building gross of about 7,058 square feet. For the 2-bedroom duplex, 8 units, again, each apartment is about 893 square feet for a total of 8,926 gross square feet on the 2 floors. And for the larger 3-bedroom duplex, the units are about 1,086 square feet for a total of about 10,526 square feet. Building D, which is a 3-story building that we refer to, has 24 units and has a total of 19,324 square feet.
Frank, just let people see again how many 1, 2s, and 3 bedrooms we have. And we take 3 bedrooms because we're required to do that for financing, but we want to emphasize it's a family development. Although we know a lot of people who are single or are partnered, but don't need a large 2, 3, or 3 bedroom. So
Correct. So on this development, on the phase 1, 18 units would be 1 bedrooms, 38 of them would be 2 bedrooms, and 8 of them would be 3 bedrooms. We've really tried to, and we have also our, what we refer to as our community building. Our community building we're developing is the heart of the operation, if you will, where people gather, people come. One of the things that we're supplying is a community room. The community room is a welcoming piece, and it's used by the entire facility, and it is connected to an outdoor space on its northern area. Within that, obviously, we'll have a leasing office that is active all the time for the leasing component. We will have a wellness office. We will have a pet spa, and we will also have a centralized laundry facility. The other thing that we're doing as well is that we're centralizing all of the mail and the packaging in the community building for the 64 units. So everybody receiving mail or packages will come to the community building. Everybody doing laundry will also come to the community building, except for the larger 3-story building. We will provide within the corridor in each floor laundry facilities for them. We'll show you now some 3D views. We've tried to really stay within the eclectic component of what we've seen in Ayer. We really don't want to take some of the ideas of this as a really residential. We also we're going to be doing solar. So the idea of having a pitch roof is key. We're trying to take advantage of those components. We also want to provide for private outdoor spaces for each apartment as much as we can. So you will see that on the bottom, there'll be an area for the bottom units, which will be a patio area. And on the above, you will have a balcony for that unit.
Frank, just before you move from that, if you would hold that for a minute, can you, you mentioned, well, let's talk about resiliency and environmental sustainability. Are these passive house or are these?
So correct. So thank you, Phil. Actually, that's a good point. I completely forgot about it. So the whole development in itself, the 64 units and phase 2 as well, but initially just the 64 units, is being developed as a passive house project. What does that mean? It means that it's going to be a highly efficient from an energy perspective. The walls are rated at a 38 to 40 R value, and the roof of these buildings are rated at a 78 to 80 R value. So we are really providing a the next step of stretch code and lead, which is coming to be passive house, in an incredibly efficient apartments and building in which the energy being used is minimized. Also, another thing to point out is that the full development is fully electric. There is no gas being brought into anywhere. So it is trying to stay as well as carbon net zero as possible within the development as much as it can. So we'll
try to buy green energy too on the outside. These things are never 100% carbon free, but we'll try to minimize, and the town probably has standards which I'm not quite familiar with, how to reduce your carbon footprint and that kind of thing. So this should be hopefully a star or a feather in your cap when it's finished in that regard.
And currently right now in Massachusetts, there are very few that I can count in my hand housing developments that have actually been approved for passive house. And we're happy to say that we already passed our first hurdle of the passive house, and we've gotten approved by mass development and the accreditation community that reviews this to move to the next step of the passive house. So we're proceeding with this development, and it's applying all of the components of a passive house, and we feel comfortable that at the end it will be a fully certified passive house project, and potentially as well as a wellness project. So we're very happy.
Also, I think it minimizes, for the tenants who have to pay electric bills, it'll also reduce their obligation, financial obligation as well.
Correct. I think that's another key component. The idea that by providing very compartmentalized apartments, the use of energy is reduced by the tenants. They don't have to overheat or overcool these apartments. which is another key component. Some of the elevations, I'll quickly take you through it. I don't want to bore you with elevations, but we're really trying to stay within the eclectic architecture that we understand in areas of this nature, so that we could also place solar panels on them in a lot of these things. This is the smaller community center. And these are just some elevations and 3D of the project. I can take you through let me stop sharing for a second. Let me reshare again. Share.
Frank, while you're looking, do you know the colors of these or a colored palette yet?
And right now we haven't gotten to that development of that. We're looking at a series of products. And as we said before, we're always very open to input from not only the existing context of what exists in the area, but also really from NOAA and as well as the community and anybody else. But we're beginning to explore it. This is can you guys see the 3-dimensional?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Ignore these buildings in the upper right. These are just studies of the community building. They're just there. I haven't deleted them yet. So they would be deleted like that. They would not be there. But what you can begin to see is really the dimensional component and the massing of the community as we're building it. Obviously, the main entry is off of Fitchburg. It's right here. The first building that you would encounter would be the community building. And you would be able to approach that area. And then we have the 3-story building set back from the road. And really the frontal component of this is the 2-story walk-ups with the balconies facing Fitchburg. The entries to those buildings are from the sides. I think we really wanted to emphasize a sense of community, a sense of gathering, and be able to create areas of interaction for all of the people who live there. Phase 2, as you can see, is a further development of that larger area for later on. The first floor would be a podium and would be housing parking. And then the second, third, and fourth floors would be dedicated to units as well. But for the most part, this is really the development that we've done. We've worked with some of the members of the city. We've been able to listen to their concerns from the fire chief, and as well, we believe that we've been able to address a lot of these things. And I think we've taken advantage of a lot of their comments to enhance the project and the design of the development.
Frank, do you mind returning to the first graph you showed that had the red line on it?
Yeah, hold on. This one?
Yeah. So I was just wondering, so I know you said, attempts were made to minimize any encroachment on that 100-foot area. Over on building in phase 2, is any of the actual building in that red area, or is that?
No, so that's a very good question, Sean. On the first development, we did our really hard to try to stay, as you can see, entirely out of it in most parts. There's a little corner here, there's a little corner here of road that we try to do. And then we did the same thing as well with the building on phase 2. We try to keep the building entirely out of that. Obviously, because of servicing components, fire servicing, parking, we still need to have the road be able to encroach that area, and that does encroach. Again, this is a phase 2. We're still working on it. There's many things that we can do as we continue, but for the most part, we know that the building is staying out of the buffer, and we're going to continue working with how to really develop the remaining part of the roads. And there's many things that we can do to be able to mitigate some of those impacts.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay, if we're ready to start entertaining questions, if you're familiar with Zoom and you can use the raise your hand feature, that's great. If you want to put it in the chat box and have me ask, that's great as well. And we'll go with the first question we got, which was from Ms. Denise Peralt. She's curious what AMI percentage housing units will be built.
Oh, I can take that one, Phil. We're looking at about 30%, which would be project-based voucher housing. 33 at 60% AMI, 22 at 70% workforce, and there was 0 market rate on this development. And that's for phase 1 at this point in time.
Okay, and so do you mind speaking a little to phase 2? Have you just not made decisions, or will there be market rate in there?
Yeah, so the underwriting for phase 2 hasn't been fully fleshed out just yet, so I don't have the exact kind of counts or numbers to see exactly what we would do. I think with this being a friendly 40B, market rate is not necessarily in our, sites at this point in time, unless Phil has different thoughts that he hasn't communicated to me just yet. But as of right now, looking at a strictly affordable project.
Okay, thank you.
I think I saw Denise come up with one and said, why only 9 at 30%? I mean, maybe that's the question is, could there be more? And the answer is probably, but there's a complex way to do these underwriting, and it's not all under 30% or what you might sometimes think is really people who have not much income or Section 8. We try to have mixed income developments as much as we can so that everybody or a lot of income cohorts can participate in the complex. So 9 is what we have, and that's sort of the normal cut. You get 8 or 9 certificates from the state to help underwrite your project, but probably you can't have too many more, but that's the reason for 9, I think, or it might have been 8, I can't remember.
9, yeah, and definitely, we do look at a lot of, market studies and really see and understand the needs of what is coming out of the town and the city and what people are demanding or capable of achieving here. And so based on our research, it does feel as though 9 project-based voucher units would meet the needs of this area. Obviously, if the next tier up is 60%, so anybody that's below the 60% can qualify. It's just based on our research and based on what can be achievable with this deal, we were only accommodating for 9 at under 30% or less.
Okay, thank you. The next question we have in the chat is from Lori Nearing, and she's curious. She had missed the beginning, so she is wondering if you could summarize the funding sources and then the timing of the project.
Of course. So for some of our funding sources, I'm just pulling up my.
Well, Annika's looking at that. I would say that the timing is, if I'm not sure we can submit this round, it might be able to go in next year after we get more town approvals. And then as people know, and probably from the town know, that it's a very competitive process. So as much as we can package this together and get it along, we preview all these things with the state, the funders, the potential investors, take it to the state, and hopefully in the first round it gets funded. Oftentimes it doesn't get funded in the first round. We've been successful a couple times. We can't guarantee. Sometimes they're geographically distributed throughout the state, no matter how good they are. So we can't control the entire process of timing, or it's a risk to say, sure, we're going to start construction when. I think every person in town wants to know when you're going to start construction. And quite honestly, we can't say that yet. What we can do is give you a time frame from when we get permission to how long construction will take. And it's usually about 14 to 18 months once we start construction, but we can't guarantee when that's actually going to happen yet. But I think Annika can now describe some of the funding sources.
Yeah, so and also just to touch on timing, our goal for right now is to apply on the winter cycle for the low-income housing with Massachusetts One Stop. So we would be aiming to get our application submitted, sometime around the first week of January. That's our goal, and that would give us approvals sort of targeted over the summer. So the very earliest that we could start to look at some of our funding sources in an effort to, get commitment letters and stuff like that from our lenders would be probably over the summer, sometime next year at the earliest, assuming we do get approved. If not, we could fall to the mini round application, which was push us to a September of 22 application timing, and then found out in about the following winter, spring, if we get accepted for that funding.
Let me just amend that a little bit with Annika. So there's what the state has is what they call a pre-approval process. So we have to meet certain criteria. We'll submit that probably earlier than January, I think. And yes, if they say you have enough information to go in January, and I'm pretty sure that we will, but we can't guarantee that either. It will go in January. I think, does it fully go in January or does it go in February? I'm not quite sure. I know when the round's happening this year, Annika, do we? So
January, February. Yeah,
it's usually in the January or February range. They probably haven't announced that yet, but let's call it the winter round. And then they probably take anywhere from 4 to 5 months, depending on the governor and other things going around, to say he'll make the decision. And a certain announcement comes out, let's say the late spring or even as late as midsummer. And that could happen. So the earliest thing is we could tell you what's happening is summer of next year. Then they have what they call a mini round, which we've been successful at twice. So then they have a smaller fall round next year. If we're really good, but close, they say we'll come in the fall, which is like right now. We just did that on September 30th, and then you sort of resubmit at that level. So there'll be a couple of bites at the apple, we hope, next year. There could be a third round in the winter of 2023, but let's hope what happens in 2022. That's what we're aiming at. Let me put it that way.
So for some of our funding sources, we would be looking at a kind of a permanent loan, which would take up the sort of the bulk of our development costs. I don't have a lender named in this just yet, or anybody that we're in particularly targeting. It's sort of a application process there, so I don't have a name. But otherwise, we would be looking at some DHCD funding sources, so HSF, AHTF, home. We would obviously be applying for the Passive House grant, and Frank's encouraging words, it seems like this project is well on its way to be able to achieve that. We would be eligible for some workforce housing initiative money. So that's really encouraging. And then also the Ayer Local Affordable Housing Trust would be another source of financing for us. Then obviously the federal low-income housing and state low-income housing tax credits that we would also be eligible for.
So I see Lori asking, these questions like most normal people would say, what does this mean? I mean, all these acronyms. And then we could give a tutorial tonight, or we could do it offline tomorrow, or even as you might like it. They can be very confusing, but they're a combination of state sources and then federal housing tax credits. If you'd like us to go through those with each initial, we certainly can, or maybe as a follow-up in the near future, Anna can sort of write down what these initials actually mean and send them to the chair, and then that can be distributed as you might like it. But let us know what you might like. Otherwise, it could take a while to sort of go through each one of these.
If it helps to simplify, I generally think of them as a sort of bucket of grant money that DHCD, which is sort of, and actually their actual meaning behind the acronym is escaping me at the moment, but the Massachusetts MassDoc's lender, so sort of the facilitator.
Let me just jump in and say, I think I saw Lori saying follow-up is fine, so we can just stop talking. Okay, and we'll send you a little list of things you might never need again, but you'll have them in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be fair to say that due to the multiple funding sources is part of the reason that the different income levels are used? I heard you say like some workforce housing.
Yes, you're right, Sean. Yes, you're right. Okay. Yes. Because the federal low-income housing tax credit is approved by the state, then it goes to, it's an allocation that all 50 states get, and Massachusetts gets a certain amount, and then they distribute them to each applicant that they want to parse their money to. It's a very complex process on their side. The state has its own low-income housing tax credits, and then there must be, as Annika was saying, four or five other agencies involved here for mass housing and/or mass development, and mass housing partnership. Whoever is distributing some of either the permanent loan, some of the soft money, there could be 4 or 5 others involved in the deal. Usually, there's about 8 funders on every deal.
Yeah, and I think in a way to also sort of simplify, we don't have yet obviously commitments for any of these funding sources as of yet. The application process that Phil and I were speaking about just prior, and sort of the round of funding that we would have to go through, which would be through sort of the greater Massachusetts affordable housing kind of overseers. They will determine exactly what our project's eligible for. So we will say, yes, we can meet these qualifications and criteria, and then they will then look at our project and determine whether or not we're capable of being granted something like that. So all of the funding sources that I've mentioned are things that we believe to be eligible for. However, none of them have been granted because this project has not yet been through that official sort of application process. I don't know about the Air Affordable Housing Trust Fund. That might be something that would be a separate kind of process usually. So I actually don't know where that one specifically stands, but I can definitely find out and summarize.
Okay, we'll just to keep it simple, I'll just shorten it for both of us. That we'll give everybody the follow-up and all the details with that. I think I see a question from Ms. Hershey about on the length of the time the project remains affordable, probably longer than any of us are going to be walking around here. So it's sometimes 50 years, sometimes 99 years. It depends on the funding source. The low-income housing tax credit is actually a 15-year investment with some further obligations on that. They get bought out or they turn the project over to us after 15 years. But rest assured, if we have it, it will remain an affordable workforce based income project for the duration.
And just to go to a question prior to that from Ms. Sarah Withy, will there be a back entrance after phase B? And where is the early 1900s and 1991 drainage easements?
So I would like to understand what the back entrance meaning from, not from Fitchburg. Would there be an entrance coming from another area that is not Fitchburg? If that is the question, no, there would not be any connections into any other areas through there. The main entrance is through Fitchburg, and that's also the egress out. The civil engineer in this case would have the best answer to where is the 1900s and the 1900 drainage easement. I don't know that, so I don't want to speak to that without knowing it. But what if they can express what the concern is? I'll be happy to try to talk about it.
Sarah, go ahead, please.
I was just curious if it was on the screen, and if you could see it on the screen, I just wanted you to point it out to me. My guess is it's not on the screen.
I'm sorry. Yeah, no.
Oh no, it's fine. I really get it. I really get into my Ayer development. So
no, and I get that, and I'm sorry that I can't speak to the civil component. But I have to assume that he's taking those things into consideration, and I know that we are putting a pump for the drainage as well within the site. So, but that's all I know.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sarah.
Are there any other questions? There's a question from Janet Pravadakis. Will the owner be paying reduced taxes to the town, or will there be a building manager on site? So 2 questions, I guess.
Yeah, let me try those. I think there probably will be a building manager on site. I don't know that person will be there 4-5 days a week, 40-hour, 8 to 10 hour days. But there will be a building manager on site. We'll be doing that plan as we have to submit a plan to the state when we do this as well. We would probably ask for some kind of a tax abatement as we normally do, because market rate, we can never increase rates. We don't want to increase our rents in order to pay the highest taxes. So we do usually ask for an abatement down the road. Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
I had a question, Sean. Ken Diskin.
Hi, Ken. Yes, please go.
Phil, is Noah looking for the selectmen to make a motion and a vote to endorse or sponsor the town's position for the LIP?
I don't know, Ken, that was on the agenda for tonight. I don't know how the agenda was actually framed. I know that we were making a presentation in more of the form of an update. I don't know, maybe Annika can double check on our particular request for the project eligibility letter. I know the state was out visiting recently and speaking with people, but I don't think, Ken, we were asking for a specific vote tonight that I'm aware of. Mr. Chairman, were you aware of a vote that had to be taken tonight?
No, I believe it was just the presentation, not a vote this evening.
Okay.
Happy to have one if you want to offer one, but we weren't looking for one.
Scott or Janice, any?
Sean, there's a couple people who have their hands up
Oh.
in the Zoom.
Oh, yes, yeah, okay. So first I will go with Mr. Robert Vogel. Robert, if you just state your name and address prior to your question. Thank you.
Robert Vogel. I live on 62 Central Ave here in Ayer. I'm helping organizing with the Devon's Crest DCTA. And my question really is, how many of these units are affordable to the lower half of the income, like say to the 24, 25, to the $30,000, $40,000 mark, and then going forward the 45 to like the $60,000 mark, and then so forth and so on. And then also, do the people of Devon's Crest, do they get first bid on these units, considering that they're already tenants of Ayer? It's really important that we look forward to keeping our tenants here living in this community.
Yeah, I'm a little bit aware of Devon's Crest, Robert. I know I'm told that doesn't want to be sold. I know it's a concern of everybody in town. I can't address it specifically. I can say that we can provide you again tonight, not with the initials, but with the income breakdowns if you'd like to have them. I'm sure Annika can put those together in the next couple of days in terms of how Ayer fits in. It would be different than Boston in terms of AMI and income levels and that kind of thing. So we can do that. Let me just sort of finish on this. On fair housing, we have to give a marketing plan to the state. They have to approve it. There's always a local preference. It wouldn't be for Devon Crest only, but there will be a town set aside for local preference. That is, everybody who applies up to a certain amount would have first choice if they apply. If they don't apply, you don't just automatically get it because you're a resident of any particular town in the Commonwealth, but you have a right to apply early on.
Well, of course. And I can tell you that there's approximately 43 to 45 families that are in need of this low income housing. And with that being said, if they were to get preference, is there a way to get Brady Sullivan to the table to negotiate a long-term standing, this is what's happening in the town. We're looking to keep these families in the town. Could we keep them in their units for the remainder of the 40B projects?
Ooh.
Again, Devon's Crest would be a different project with different rules, regulations, and no one can just, if a private developer can just come in and sort of take it perhaps, and they could, but when you have publicly funded developments, they don't allow just a transfer of one, just because you live in town or you live in one development and you might want to move into a modern one or you get more security, that would be against fair housing rules and regulations.
Okay, well, a lot of these families that we're talking about right now are, young families that have grown up in this neighborhood, elderly that have lived in Devon's Crest for between 35 to 60 years, and also disabled that, as you know, Massachusetts is one of the most expensive states to live in. And to keep these people in this neighborhood and in this town, they're also taxpayers just like we are. They're also units of the town. They're families. They're part of the town. They've been here for a long time, and I feel that the town and any developments that happen should be focused on trying to help these families.
Robert, I can say it's more of it's a larger concern than we can address in this. We're sensitive to the concerns of all people who need housing, and there are a variety of people who need housing, no matter what their income levels. We all know people who are make more money than people here, and it's not easy to find housing, period. That's generally within our range. I will say that we'll provide you, with the marketing plan as soon as it comes out, so you're aware of the opportunities that will eventually emerge from the development. That's probably the best way I can say it. But nobody's going to be able to guarantee that anybody can move from one development to the other, automatically gets a place in this development. We'll provide you the marketing plan and let you know, and we'll work closely with the town so the town knows how to share that, because the selectmen and others will be wanting to know. They'll be asking the same questions down the road. How do I know a family who wants to get in there? We'll give you everybody the plan and give everybody the opportunity to sort of get in there first to fill out their forms, and then people have the best public information as possible.
Thanks, Phil. I'd also just like to remind everybody that this is a presentation and a discussion about a 40B project on Fitchburg Road. This is not about Brady Sullivan or Devon's Crest. So if we can just keep our questions relevant to the 40B project. And the next person I have up it's a phone number of 1618.
Good evening. Through the chair, this is Beth Sidmeyer on Nashua Street.
Hi,
And
Beth.
I had a couple of, hi. Thank you all for, having this item on the agenda tonight. It's great to be able to hear more about the proposed project. And there's definitely a lot of aspects I think that could be very beneficial for the town. I did want to understand a little bit more about the phasing, because I heard mention of phase 1 and phase 2 and the timing between the phases, and also whether or not there would sort of be at the time of phase 1, if phase 2 is going to be sort of permitted through the Conservation Commission approval process concurrently, or if it would be presented enough such that we wouldn't have sort of a project segmentation from an environmental permitting standpoint. And if it's not fully developed at that time, if there could at least be an approval of sort of the overall master plans, that there is an understanding, because I think when I was hearing it, and I apologize, I'm not able to be, watching the meeting on Zoom to see the display items and such, but I will take a look later, but I was just hearing a lot of talk about, the lack of conclusive detail about, the extent to which the buffer zone would be impacted and things like that. So I just wanted to kind of ask for a little bit of clarification on that. Thank you.
So, and feel free to jump in whenever, but our understanding is that we are approving the master plan, which would be phase 1 and phase 2. We have designed the entire complex to get approved for the 2 phases, with the idea that we would be building 1 phase first, would be 64 units, and at a second phase to be determined, the phase 2. Both of those phases are being designed in coordination and discussions with the commission and understanding of the impact with the wetlands. And we've tried to stay out of that. And as was presented today, and you would see when you see the presentation, that we've made our strongest efforts to keep every building out of that 100-foot buffer. But the idea would be that we would be approving the master plan, and that we would have to build everything per this approved master plan, both phases. And currently we would only be building the phase 1, as I spoke, which is 7 buildings, 64 units, including the community building.
Thanks, Frank. Thank you, Frank. Beth, did you have any other questions?
No, that is all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then I do see that Denise Peralt has her hand up. I'm not sure, Denise, if you had a question that you did not include in the chat feature.
Hi, everybody. I thank you for coming and explaining what is going on in Fitchburg Street. I just wanted to be clear about the if it is going to be in perpetuity, meaning it's not going to be raised or changed to luxury or market rate apartments after 5 years. And I was
Denise,
just wondering,
I assure you, we would never build anything like that. I don't want to cut you up, but I do want to assure you just with that comment that we have no interest in ever selling. That's not our business. That's not what we want to do. That's not what we use tax dollars to sort of flip it, take cash and run away. Our goal is to keep this in perpetuity as mixed income housing for people who need this kind of resource, as just described by others in the call and yourself.
Mm-hmm. And I was just wondering about we are supposed to be developing for extremely low and very low income. And I brought this up to Congressman Bonnie Frank when he was involved in housing. And it appears to me that many developers and towns and cities obviously choose the upper level income because for obvious reasons, there is more money to be made. But there is such a housing crisis in Massachusetts for people under $40,000. I don't know how people can continue to justify not building housing for people below the $40,000 income range. I mean, it's not people's fault that they only make that kind of income. I mean, if only employers would pay a better salary, then that wouldn't be an issue right now. But I'm just wondering why there isn't more extremely low and very low income housing, because many people have the idea that low income are for poor people, but they're above the $40,000 and even upwards of $50,000 and $60,000.
So,
Well, of course, you're asking a larger question. I don't know if I'm interrupting anybody. I would say that there is a public housing authority in town and in other communities, and they generally address that in depth and need more funding to accomplish those means.
The extremely low and very low isn't the housing authorities are not charged with creating and developing affordable housing. Affordable housing, the income levels are supposed to start at extremely low, very low, and low. I mean, it's on the HUD website, so I'm not just creating these thoughts in my head. I mean, they do have housing. The housing authority, that's a nonprofit, and they have their own buildings. But affordable housing, it's supposed to be created starting at extremely low, very low, and low. And so that has nothing really to do with the housing authority.
So Denise, sorry, not to cut you off. However, this is, I understand your frustration with this. However, this is not a topic that is germane to a presentation for the 40B project. And we do have a long meeting that we have to get through.
No, I appreciate that. And I think that it's important for people to understand, other portions of affordable housing. So I'm sorry if it's painstaking for me to talk about it, but a lot of people really aren't aware of income levels, and they think that low income is for poor people. But I'm sorry if I took up the time, but I think it's important for people to understand that.
Yeah, that's okay. I do have another question from Ms. Sarah Withy.
This is just a quick question. As you know, I live in a section of town where I'm a little bit concerned about the trucks. And I was wondering if these houses up here, the units in the front, are those going to be like right flat and street level? Or is there going to be like a little bit of an incline?
So they are set back about 30 feet from the road, the face of the building.
Okay.
And, so they're set back. There's going to be landscaping as well, that you begin to see the circles, signifying trees. They're going to be set back from there tremendously, and landscape as well. So they won't be literally on the road. They will be set back. I think one of the things that we wanted to make sure when we were doing this development is that we try to create a face, but then not create a wall on Fitchburg Road. So we set them back as much as possible. And you can see basically that the setback from Fitchburg Road is greater than the setback that we've done on the parking side. So we've shrunk that so that we can expand that way. And we just want to have enough of a buffer also for circulation, for traffic, and all of those components.
Okay, that's my last question, I promise. Thank you.
No, thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. Scott or Janice, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. Thanks.
I don't have any questions. I think it was a good presentation, and I also want to just thank Denise for bringing forward the other aspect of the conversation in a public venue. So
Absolutely. All right. I'm sorry, Mr. Diskin.
I had one more, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman. Is NOAA able to divulge that they have control of the property and that there will not be a chance at the failure due to the lack of the amount of time that it takes to produce the project, get your funding and build a, control the whole project going forward. In other words, are you under the gun to get this going because of the potential sale of the property?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, we want to expedite like everybody else. We're not under pressure from anybody to do so.
And I do just want to just call out our project eligibility letter that we do maintain site control over the property.
Thank you.
Great. All right, thank you for Phil, Annika, and Frank for the first of what I'm sure will be several presentations on this project as we move forward. And I just want to remind everybody that there will be hard copies of tonight's presentation available at the Select Board office, as well as the information will be available online.
So, Mr. Chair, I'd say we have 2 follow-up items. I think we said we would follow up with the AMI for the area and some rental levels and some initials for the complicated alphabet soup of housing.
Yes, thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could, just speaking from the zoning board perspective, this is really, really conceptual and in its infancy right now. I know Noah's working with DHCD, which is a state housing department. They haven't issued a project eligibility letter yet. Once they do, then this comes back to the Zoning Board of Appeals, where it's a public hearing process that will go into much further detail. And certainly, we'll get into the nitty gritty, but I understand it's very conceptual at this point, but, we will see it in much further detail as soon as the state issues the project eligibility letter.
Okay, thank you, Carla. Okay, so if there's no other questions related to the 40B project presentation, we are going to move on to our next agenda item, which is the Dan, the Director of the Public Works. Hello, Dan.
Thank you, everybody.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, good evening. Yeah, here I am. Hey, good evening. How you doing?
Hi.
Good. How are you, Dan?
Pretty good. Yeah, so I have 4 items tonight on the agenda. And my first item is the award of the Ayer West Main Street Infrastructure Project. That's the MassWorks grant funded project. So for that project, we made the design, bid the project. We received 9 bids on September 23rd. And the low bidder was Onyx Corporation from Acton, Mass, who has done some private development work in town. They're actually working at Catania Spagna's site. They're the site contractor over there right now. So we've crossed paths with them before, and they're a good contractor. They're also pre-qualified by Mass DOT. So after reconvening with the MassWorks project team, we had some add alternates for the project, which there was 4 of them, and we've decided as a group that the first 2 would be good to accept and keep us within a good budget. So the final contract price, if we accept the base bid and add alternates 1 and 2, is $2,582,522.50. So that'd be the contract with Onyx Corporation. So I'm recommending you award the contract to Onyx Corporation for that price. This is for an award tonight, not for signing a contract.
All right. Dan, could you just, for my own naivete, explain what does the 4 alternates mean?
So when we bid a project, we have a base bid, which is basically the scope that we want to have done. So we want to have the roadway constructed. We want to have the stormwater utility upgraded. We want to replace the water main. But then there's some things that are more wants than needs. And so you can put those as add alternates. So then it doesn't make you go over budget if you were to bulk those into the base bid. So some of those items we had was to install a 60-inch corrugated metal pipe to replace an old one, which is kind of a want, a pretty good want, a pretty good need, but a little bit of a want. And the second item that we're accepting as well, what do you think? I lost my train of thought there. But yeah, so the fourth item was a catch basin, silt prison insert. So that was more of a want than a need. So we didn't put those into the contract, but we could add them on later. So that's basically what add alternates are.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, thank you. Janice or Scott, any questions for Dan on this?
No.
No questions, thank you.
I'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that the select board approve the notice of award, or execute the notice of award to the Onyx Corporation for the Air West Main Street Infrastructure Project.
Second.
All right, Board Member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board Member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
Okay. The second item on the agenda is approval of change order 1 for Westford Road sewer replacement project. So this project was completed in the summer. We replaced a section of sewer main on Westford Road downstream of the force main discharge from Nasoya, from the Stony Brook pump station. And the change order is a negative change order. It's a credit of $5,241.95. So it takes into account actual work completed and a couple of items that were unforeseen. So just execution of I recommend execution of the change order for signature by the chair of a credit for the amount I just mentioned.
Okay, Scott or Janice, did you have any questions on this?
No questions.
No.
Okay, neither did I. So I'll entertain a motion to accept the change order.
I'll make a motion to approve change order number 1 for the Westford Road sewer replacement project and the amount of a credit of $5,241.95 for a signature by the chair.
Seconded.
Okay, Board Member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board Member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, and the change order is approved.
Okay. The third item is again another change order. This is for wastewater treatment facility alum pacing improvements. So we completed the alum pacing project, which was something that EPA required us to do, and it's going to be more efficient for our plant as well and using less alum. But there were some items that were in the specifications and bid that were excessive. Some excessive submittal requirements, excessive training for such a simple, small project. So we took those out of the project. So it's also it's a credit for $12,000. So I recommend signature by the chair.
Okay, Scott or Janice, any questions on this one?
I have no questions.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept the change order.
I'll make a motion that the select board approve the change order in the for the WWTF alum pacing improvement projects for a credit of $12,000. Signature by the chair.
Second.
Okay, Board Member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board Member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Change order is accepted, approved.
Okay, the final item I have is the FY 2022 paving and road treatment contract amendment. So the contract's 2019 through 2021, and it's a one-year contract with the option of extending it another year, I guess for two more additional years. So this will be our final year of the contract. We'll have to send out a new bid for next fiscal year. So the contract is with PJ Albert, and they've been doing a good job for us. And they're actually working on Groton Shirley Road and High Street right now. So I recommend signing the amendment with PJ Albert for FY22 road paving.
Okay, any questions about this contract extension?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to execute the contract amendment with PJ Albert for fiscal year 2022 road paving for a signature by the chair.
Seconded.
Board Member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board Member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The contract agreement or renewal is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all I have tonight.
All right, thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks.
All right, that brings us to our next item, which is the approval of the re-precincting map from the Census 2020 by Town Clerk Susan Copeland.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Madam Clerk.
Hello.
So,
Aye.
hi.
Susan, do you want the map up now? I can share my screen.
If you can, yeah. I
Sure.
just want to apologize. I was hoping to be able to get this meeting in person, so the map wasn't so small. But I have behind me, and Carly's going to share. So the Census 2020 figures came in for the town of Ayer, and it found us at 8,479 residents. And what happens with this is it means we will be expanding to 3 precincts in our little town. A precinct typically is 4,000 residents. So we were pushing the limits on that with our 2. And given the fact we have the different developments that aren't necessarily reflected in our precincts at this time at the map, but the state is aware that we do have the housing that is going in that is, currently being actively built is the words I want to use. I know there's a few projects like we heard earlier that are coming. Those are not in our numbers. So that being said, we will be separating into the 3 precincts. I've worked with the town engineer, Dan, who was a huge help. Tom Hogan, I worked with the Board of Registrars and the Secretary of State's office, and Alicia from Community Development, because we wanted to be sure that our map is not only numbers correct, but we also want to make sure that our demographics are also represented correctly, and that that can affect any grants. It affects potential redistricting with our representatives and senators and so forth. So this was quite the learning experience for me. And so I'm proud to present this to the board today. So we do not need to hold a public hearing on the precinct boundaries, but we do need to have a vote and acceptance from the select board. So I did send the map that you can see, and I did not choose the colors, so I do not appreciate that brown that we were assigned, but you get what you get. And also I attached the legal boundary descriptions for each precinct that you do not have to read tonight, Janice, don't worry. It was quite the project. And again, thank you to Dan for helping me. I'm not an engineer, but I did learn how to write out boundary descriptions. We also included in your packets, I included the blocks, the block report, which gives the breakdown of our town, of who makes up the town, and to show the breakdown by precinct as well, which is interesting to be able to look over that information. So I don't know if I had anything else to say. I do. These changes will go into effect. So today you will vote, hopefully, and approve what I presented. And then I then send it off tomorrow morning to the Local Election Districts Review Commission, which is the governor, the Secretary of State, and a representative of the legislature that's chosen, and they vote on these changes. And these changes will go into effect December 31st of 2021. So we do not have any elections this fall. So this will go into effect the first time at this time our first local election in May will be the first time our voters will have 3 precincts. So I do plan to do a lot of public outreach, hopeful to get something mailed out with our local census that we send out in January. I think the timing might cut it close, but I'm trying to work on that now to get ahead of it. And we'll just try to promote and send out the information to the voters. It'll be a learning curve. Next fall, we do have a primary, a state primary, and then a general election. But we do have the early voting that is still offered, and I think has been a great opportunity for voters. So I think it'll actually be a good thing. It'll help us, and with the precincts, with the map that I did, sort of shifted some of the heavier populated areas to help with the lines. Not that we ever really have any lines. It's good to have lines on voting day, but that's just me, the town clerk. So that's pretty much it. Now I'm just talking to talk. So if anybody has any questions.
Scott or Janice, did you have any questions?
No.
Mr. Chair, so Susan, on the logistics for actual voting, because currently we have 2 precincts that both vote at town hall, will this require a second location for voting within town?
So initially, when I got the numbers, I thought, oh, we'll have to get a bigger location or something. But when you really look at it, the number hasn't changed for the 2 precincts, meaning that's the number of voters that we've been able to accommodate in the Great Hall. So I have been upstairs looking at it logistically and measured out using that full space to create sort of 3 lanes and doing some maneuvering, like where we have like the warden table set up. I was going to move that out of that area. And, up on the stage is where we do at the bigger elections, we have early voting, et cetera. So and early voting is key. Having that 7 days before the election, it really helps spread out. I think early voting does need to be in the Great Hall. Before we'd started off in the first floor meeting room, but it's really gained momentum in Ayer. So I think setting up completely up in the Great Hall for the whole stretch is the best way. So I don't think we need to look into a third or second location, but it's not to say that we don't talk about it and see in the next 2 to 3, especially before the next presidential, if that is something that we'll need to consider. But I'm hopeful that, again, with the early voting, absentee ballots, and then our day of turnout, that we should be able to accommodate voters. But it's not that it's off the table. So I just don't have the exact decision at this time. We just
Thank you.
have to see. I was able to, I'm sorry, I was able to, before the last presidential, especially with mail-in voting, I was able to get a third machine for the processing of ballots. So I actually have 3 machines and a spare for voting for the annual election in May. But I will probably in the next budget cycle ask to get another machine so that we have one for the early voting ballots that we can process, but that's something down the road. But right now, as far as equipment, I think we're doing just fine with what we have because I was able to add more equipment with grants. So I'm not too worried about that piece yet.
And just for clarification, so this is a local change, correct? And it may, but does not necessarily impact people's state representation?
So we won't know that until the end of the year.
Okay.
So all these, the maps all need to be accepted statewide by the end of October. and approved by the LEDRC. And then upon that approval is when the state will look at the redistricting and see what, if any changes will occur then. I mean, obviously we'll have to be assigned. They'll have to do something. We have 3 precincts now. So
Yeah.
how that will be determined, but yeah, so that will be determined by the end of the year.
Okay.
So there is, yes, there is potentially some change. Whether, like, for instance, we have 2 reps, one for precinct 1, one for precinct 2. Will that one of them get the other precinct, or how it will work out? Not quite sure, but yeah, so there'll be some changes, but they'll be good.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
All right. I will entertain a motion to approve the re-precincting map.
I would like to make a motion that the select board approve the 2020 re-precincting plan for the town of Ayer as presented by the town clerk, Susan Copeland, on Tuesday, October 5th, 2021.
Second.
Okay, Board Member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board Member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, and the plan has been accepted, approved. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
And Carly has the original. If you could all stop in, please, to sign, and then I can send that off.
All right.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to our next item on the agenda, which is the approval of the October 25th, 2021 Fall Special Town Meeting warrant.
Mr. Chairman, good evening.
Good evening.
And members of the board, and Ms. Antonellis will put up a shared screen of the warrant. So just a quick overview. There are 7 articles and 1 citizen's petition, which were all received by the town's deadline of October 1st at 12 p.m. Noon. The warrant has been reviewed by town council and is ready for your review and approval. In the interest of time, Mr. Chair, I don't know how you want to proceed. I'll go briefly over each one, very briefly, and if there are specific questions from the board, with your approval, we'd be looking for a vote this evening. With your approval of the warrant will be posted publicly this Friday, October 8th, in all of the physical locations throughout town, as well as posted on the town's website. On Friday, it will also be sent to print and to mailing, where it will be mailed to every household in the town of Ayer. So the first 3 articles, Article 1, 2, and 3 are all interrelated, if you will. Article 1 is the transfer of the Woodlawn Cemetery. As the board will recall, at the annual town meeting, Article 27, town meeting authorized the town to proceed with the due diligence for the transfer and to report back to town meeting with a recommendation at the fall town meeting on October 25th. The recommendation is going to be that the town proceed with the transfer, which this article, if passes town meeting by a simple majority, would transfer all of the property, graves, real property, and funds to the town. There will be a presentation made on this article at town meeting, and there will also be provided a copy of the study report to the public. Article 2, which is related to Article 1, assuming Article 1 passes, Article 2 would look to transfer funding in the amount of $41,000 for the operations of the Woodlawn Cemetery for the balance of FY 2022. So with the transfer to the town, assuming it passes town meeting, the anticipation for the transfer to be officially completed is January 1st of 2022. In doing the due diligence, there's about $80,000 in funds that will be transferred from the Woodlawn Cemetery to the town. The DPW director and the finance manager anticipate would need about $41,000 to operate the cemetery for the balance of FY 2022. The operating budget for next year for the cemetery will go through the FY 23 budget process, which we're about to start. And then Article 3, if passes by town meeting, would be the establishment of an appointed cemetery commission. This is a two-part process by state law. It has to pass town meeting in October, and then it also has to be put on the annual local election ballot, town ballot in May. And it will ask voters, do you approve of the creation of an appointed cemetery commission, yes or no? So this article is the first step to authorize it by town meeting and then to authorize the ballot question for the spring. It would be a 3-member cemetery commission appointed by the select board. It would have to be Ayer residents. There'd be 3-year terms staggered. And the cemetery commission was responsible for developing the rules, policies, regulations of the cemetery for the town. Article 4 is a cell tower lease for the property. There is a cell tower currently on the town's property at Brook Street. It's owned by SBA Communications, and it was a 20-year lease. And you'll see in the explanatory note, over the last 20 years, we've generated approximately $900,000 from the lease. The lease is going to expire in 2023. And under Massachusetts state law, the land lease has to go through a competitive procurement process. So what this cell tower, what Article 4 would do, if town meeting passes it, it would give the select board the authorization to commence with going through the competitive process for a new lease for the cell tower. The tower itself is owned by SBA Communications. We anticipate in the end of this process that SBA Communications will retain that site, but Massachusetts law does require that it goes through a competitive bidding process. So this would be the first step in that. It has been a positive thing for the town, as you can see, over the last 20 years, generating about $900,000 in funds for the town. Article 5 and Article 6 are our 2 Community Preservation Committee funding articles, and both of these are in process through the CPC and will be ready for town meeting. The first one looks to transfer Article 5. Can we go back to the page? Article 5 is $21,000 to update the 5-year community preservation production plan. And then Article 6 is an application for $300,000 from the open space category for the Ayer Shirley Regional High School Athletic Field Project. And again, generally, I know Ms. Provodakis, the chair of the committee, generally at town meeting has a brief presentation on each of these articles. But in a nutshell, that's what both seek to do. Article 7 is the Town of Ayer fertilizer use bylaw. And Mr. Chairman, a couple things on this, and then through you, I know that the chair of the Conservation Commission, Mr. John Schollenberger, is here, and through you, I think wanted to offer some of the Conservation Commission's position on this.
Sure.
As I communicated to the board in a nutshell, this article, as it was being developed, and I appreciate all of the work of the Conservation Commission over the last several months on this, as this was being developed, which really looks to define, obviously, the use of fertilizer, there's all the definitions and so forth, and the bylaw looks to really address an issue that is very real in Ayer, which is the impacts of fertilizer pollution on Ayer's many waterways. And a specific focal point of this, as the board is aware, has been Flanagan Pond, but not exclusive to that. And as we're developing this, when it goes through town council review, town council did advise the commission and my office that they are concerned that the article as written will not ultimately be accepted by the Attorney General. And the reason being is that Chapter 262 of the Acts of 2012 gives the Commonwealth's Department of Agriculture, so gives state authority with respect to fertilizer. And town council's recommendation is that this bylaw is preempted by the state. And so therefore the state holds the regulatory authority in this area. So what does that mean? That does not mean that this can't be put forth. And that's why it's before you tonight, because I know the Conservation Commission at their most recent meeting, which was very well attended, had a very long discussion and very substantive discussion on this. And there's a lot of interest of this issue and concern about this issue, which I do share with them as well. And decided to put this forth really to increase awareness of the issue and have the issue discussed by town meeting. And that's, you know, the purview of the select board to decide to advance it. I also, as I explained to the chair of the commission and to the conservation agent, I just feel that we have a responsibility to give all of the public information in that the board is aware that this article, if it advances to town meeting, and if it passes town meeting, we don't know till town meeting happens, it's the legal opinion of town council that most likely when it's sent to the Attorney General, it will not be accepted. We don't know that for sure. I can't say that 100%, but the likelihood that it would be rejected by the Attorney General is very high. What would that mean? If it passes town meeting and it goes to the Attorney General and the Attorney General rejects it, it doesn't go into effect. The Attorney General could also, as she has done with many bylaws, is make edits, binding edits and changes to it. The commission is aware of this, and I think they had a great discussion on this at their meeting recently. And just to conclude, their feeling is that they want to bring this forward for a discussion at town meeting for education purposes and so forth. To conclude, because one of the questions many have asked is, well, if the bylaw doesn't pass, what can we do or what are we going to do about the substantive issue, which is the fertilizer use concern? The Conservation Commission does have the authority within their wetlands protection bylaw to develop the appropriate regulation to deal with the fertilizer issue. And we're committed, when I say we, town council and so forth, working with the Conservation Commission to develop that appropriate regulation. With that said, the article is before the select board. You do control the warrant, so it's ultimately up to the board whether you want to advance that or not. It's strictly a policy decision of the select board. Mr. Chair, with that, through you, I know that Mr. John Schallenberger, the chair, I may have missed a point, or he may want to stress something from the Conservation Commission's perspective on this.
If I may.
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you too, Robert. We did meet with town council, and he gave us only one example of the Attorney General's office rejecting a non-CAPE municipal attempt to regulate fertilizer. That was in 2013. We have in the state a new Attorney General, Maura Healy, since the last it was tried in 2013. The intent of the bylaw is primarily education and public awareness. We spend a lot of money each year treating our ponds, and phosphorus runoff from chemical fertilizer use is one of the things that we can try to improve. So we're just asking that you give this bylaw a chance, both before Ayer residents, and if it passes, before the Attorney General's office. And we understand that there is a small chance to get this approved at the state level, but there is a 0% chance if we can't get our bylaw on the AG's desk. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, John. Any questions from Janice or Scott about the warrant?
Me.
Go ahead, Janice.
So I understand what Robert's saying and whatnot, but I mean, to be honest, over the years, we've had bylaws that got approved by town, got approved by the Attorney General, and then the courts said, oops, nope, you all people across the state messed up. I understand what the Conservation Commission is asking for as far as bringing this forward. So it would be my recommendation, at least, that if we do decide to put this forward, which I think is a good idea, because the reason why I think it could be a good idea is that the Attorney General could look at this and feel that it complements the state law and that it actually helps the whole kit and caboodle, okay? But I would also recommend that in the explanatory note, we also put a little reminder in far as that and include the part where, you know, if approved, this needs to go to the Attorney General who will make the final decision. So that way it's also in black and white when the people get the warrant. And then of course it would be stated that night that, you know, hey, it's got to go to the Attorney General for final approval.
I think we would be very happy with that.
Yeah. I think I agree with Janice. It's an important part of the explanatory note, so that people understand that it's a multi-level process.
Mm-hmm.
Scott, any questions or comments?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. My comment is I also support bring this to town meeting, primarily because of what John said, that we spend a lot of money treating our ponds, and that is always part of the discussion at town meeting, that the root cause appears to be the fertilizer, et cetera. So I think that town meeting is a good, viable venue for this conversation.
And I see Ms. Deering has her hand up.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. I appreciate all your support, and I wanted to say that I was at the meeting where we discussed this, and I'm representing PACE, people very concerned about the environment, and we very much want to see this go forward. It's been something we've been concerned about for a long time, a very long time. In addition to what you've already stated, and everybody stated it so clearly, the education piece is so important, and we also have come to realize that places in town that sell lawn fertilizer sell it with phosphorus in it, even though I believe that's not allowed anymore. And so we definitely want to reinforce the right thing. And if it ends up being put as an official bylaw in the end, it will be much easier for people to refer to and to understand and to have a whole, have that bylaw readily available. And, as a neighbor, you can say, this is against the bylaw when you see your neighbor with a perfect lawn and they're right up against the wetlands. So I appreciate this going forward, and I'm very much in favor of it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Is there anybody else who had comments or questions on this particular bylaw? Sure, I'll take Marion first, and then Jim. Marion, you're on mute, just so you.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I would like to speak in support of this article going forward and appearing on the warrant, so that people will become better informed about the issue and will have an opportunity to support it. I think that it would be advantageous to the town. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Marion. And then Jim.
As your moderator, I will do my best to make clear that it will be up to the Attorney General, but I, for one, totally believe in the premise of this article. And I think everything we can do to curb the pollution of our ponds is in the best interest and the long-term survival of the town's waterways. So thank you for bringing this to our attention, especially to the Conservation Commission.
Great. Thank you, Jim. Any other questions or comments? If not, then Robert, do you want to finish on the warrant?
Yep. So, Mr. Chair, just to be clear, per Select Board Member Livingston, then under the explanatory note, we will add that if approved by town meeting, it needs to go to the Attorney General for final approval. I think that's a good point. And I think that's the point, the key point we were trying to make. I think we're all on the same page as to what the bylaw is seeking to do and what the issue is. It's just, I think, in managing expectations of town meeting, it's important that folks understand that the Attorney General has the final say, and that where state law preempts in this issue, that we're going up against a big hurdle, but we may be successful, just so folks understand that even if it passes at town meeting, it ultimately rests with the Attorney General. And I think secondly, as mentioned, the Conservation Commission is committed also within its regulatory authority within the wetlands bylaw to also approach this issue from that direction as well. So I think all excellent points. The last article, so that would be the final of the standard articles. The last, there was a citizens petition that was filed in advance of the town's deadline that received the certified, we go down to the last page here, received the necessary certified signatures from the town clerk that looks to rezone 29 Harvard Road from general residence to general business. That is the former small gas station that's across from All Town Fresh on Harvard Road. The planning board will be holding a public hearing on this since it is a zoning bylaw, since it's a zoning article change, and the planning board is required by law to report at town meeting with a recommendation. The information for the citizens petition is available through the town clerk's office, and we will be getting that up on the website as well. So that's the warrant in a nutshell, Mr. Chair, through you. If there are specific questions or other changes that the select board would like, I turn it back to you. And I have noted Select Board Livingston's change to the explanatory note on the fertilizer bylaw.
Okay. I didn't have any other questions or changes. Scott or Janice?
No other questions. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the October 25th all special town meeting warrant with the one change as suggested by Board Member Livingston.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Board Member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board Member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, and the warrant is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Okay. Mr. Chair, do you want me to continue into the town manager's report?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And in the interest of time, I will be as brief as I can, which is sometimes a challenge. I just want to first say what a wonderful day for the town of Ayer this past Saturday with the Heart of Hometown Festival. And a special thanks to Alan Minoyan, our Director of Community and Economic Development, who spearheaded this great event, his volunteer committee, which we'll be recognizing in the near future. And I don't want to start to name folks because I know I'll miss one, but we'll be all of the volunteers on his committee. A special thanks to our public safety departments for making it smooth and safe as always, all of the other departments involved, and especially the restaurants, the artisans, the performers, and I would say the over about 800 residents that attended the event on a spectacular October day. I think what a way to celebrate our 150th during this pandemic and hopefully coming out of this pandemic. So I think that was a great event for the town of Ayer. We've received nothing but positive feedback and a lot of requests that this become an annual event. And I'll be meeting with Alan to discuss that later this week. So I just wanted to point that out, and what a great celebration of our great town. I also just want to quickly advise the board that the town's capital planning process will start this Friday, October 8th, when we issue the capital planning directive. Departments will have until the end of the month on October 29th to submit their capital plans, and then the capital planning committee will begin to meet and move through that process. The rate review committee has been meeting and has a key meeting coming up on Tuesday, October 12th, as they look at the solid waste permits and fees and any recommendations, and looking to come back to the select board at your November 2nd meeting with any potential recommendations. But the committee will be meeting on October 12th to start that process. Also, the buy board met last week and is in the process of developing a policy for the town's American Recovery Funds, or the opera funds you've heard of. Ultimately, the buy board will be developing a recommendation on a policy and plan for that. That will be coming to the select board in the near future for your final review and final approval there. I'm pleased to report that efforts down at the Council on Aging Senior Center are going well with our new director, Dr. Katie Petrossi. We're making some improvements to the existing space and hope to get that reopened the beginning of November on that front. And then, of course, there was a change at the Department of Public Works with Dan Van Schalwick assuming the position of director this past Friday. We'll be in good shape for town meeting, and of course the budget process will be in earnest very, very shortly. So unless there's any other questions, there's also the warrants that were reviewed and approved since the board last met in September are in the packet. If there are no questions, we just have two items. The first is the approval of draft 4 of the FY23 budget schedule. I know that the board has been reviewing and discussing this the last several meetings. You have sort of the final draft in your packet. When the buy board did meet, it did review this and sort of give it its informal blessing. But if there aren't any questions from the select board, I would recommend respectfully that the board consider approving the budget calendar for FY23.
Scott or Janice, any questions on the calendar?
Mr. Chair.
I have one question.
Sorry, go ahead, Janice.
Okay, so we're approving draft 4, but the presentation is draft 3. So before we go to approve anything, which draft are we on? The presentation just showed draft 3, but in their memo, it says draft 4. That's all.
Oh, you know what? This is draft 4. My apologies. I didn't change the bottom right there.
Okay.
But it is draft 4 up here. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll fix it.
All right. And then Scott.
I'm looking through, and I apologize. I was supposed to follow up with Robert. The capital planning committee meetings are not included on this. Any issues if we approve what's here and then add those after we can schedule those?
Yeah, I don't have any issue with that.
Okay.
I don't have an issue. Those usually happen in like December, like the whole month of December. Usually.
Correct.
Yeah, so yeah. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on it? If not, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget calendar draft 4 for fiscal year 23.
I'll make a motion to approve the fiscal year 23 budget calendar draft number 4, pending adding the capital planning committee meetings as presented.
Seconded.
Okay, board member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. It's approved.
Fiscal year 23 is for next year, right? We're not currently in fiscal year 23, right?
No,
Phew.
we're at 22.
I'm like, wait a minute, at work, I'm in fiscal year 22. How did I get to 23? So, all right, thank you. Whew, it's getting late.
Yeah. And Robert, Mr. Pomfrey, I'm turning it back over to you.
Did I lose everyone?
No, we still hear you.
Did you take a vote on the?
You got a little smaller.
Yes, we did vote on the calendar and it was approved with the amendment that includes the capital planning meetings.
All right, I apologize. I guess I got lost in cyberspace for a moment. Okay, the last item, and a special thanks to the Assistant Town Manager, Ms. Antonellis, for preparing this. The 2022 licenses that are under the Select Board, as the board is aware, it's that time of year where Ms. Antonellis will be sending out the renewals to all of the licenses, beer and wine, all alcohol, the class 1 through 3, and so forth. And as the memo says, we're looking for some guidance from the board. As the board will recall, last year, the board reduced the application, the license fees by 75% due to the COVID-19 impacts. And you can see here on the memo that was prepared by Ms. Antonellis, it shows you what the original cost, but that reduced cost, the total number of licenses, the differences, and then the cost impact, if you will. So in this case, the reduction was was $37,650 that we didn't collect based on the 75% reduced license fee. So we're going to be getting ready to do the license renewal process very shortly. We were looking to have a discussion and get some guidance from the board as to what your thoughts would be for the upcoming licenses.
Sure. Yeah. So I know I would be in support of extending this 75% reduction for another year. I think we're still coming out of, the economy has not returned to normal. And if we're able to assist our small businesses, I think that $37,000 less of collection is not that big of a deal. But what we're able to offer small businesses is a big deal. I don't know, Scott, Janice, your thoughts on this?
I agree that we should still extend help. I not sure if it should be the whole 75% or just, maybe a little bit smaller. But definitely we need to continue to support them because, even though they've worked their butts off for this whole thing. And, if we can help them out, I'm all for it.
And Mr. Chair, I also support extending the reduction. I personally would like to see the 75%. I think that even though we have higher vaccination rates here in Massachusetts, I still think there's a little bit of uncertainty as we go into the winter time. Not necessarily with COVID cases spiking, but maybe individuals who just don't want to travel out as much as they would under normal circumstances. So just to continue the lifeline, and I'd support continuing the 75%.
I'm fine.
Mr. Chair, if I could just say, when Robert and Lisa and I all sat down and we were looking at revenue projections for this fiscal year, we did factor in the 75%, just worst case, exposure. So our revenues are built on the 75% reduction, assuming that you guys are maybe going to continue it this year.
Okay. All right. And so any other questions or discussion on it?
So, Mr. Chair, if the board is in agreement, and Ms. Antonellis is correct, based on all of the analysis of the revenue projections and so forth, the town can absorb the 75%. If there's agreement, what respectfully would be helpful is if the board did take a vote, and as you did last year in the vote, that you've been doing it on a year-by-year basis, which I think makes sense. So I think that's a key piece of the motion, is that if it's to be 75%, for the 2022 licenses. And then we reevaluate next fall.
Yes, that makes sense. All right. Janice, I think before Carly started, you were saying something about where you were feeling on this. I know you were saying maybe reduce it, but
I'm fine with the 75.
Okay.
I did want to throw it out there in conversation. So if we were to go to like 60%, but I'm fine with the 75% because I know some of the businesses, are just opening up for the first time. I think Marco's on Main is one of them.
Very good.
So I'm fine
okay.
with the 75% and continuing that. Mhm.
Okay, so if we all can agree on the 75%, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that the select board set license fees for calendar year 2022 at a 75% reduction as presented.
Seconded.
Okay, board member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Carly, thank you for putting this together and the graph, especially in showing us what the breakdown is.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, that concludes my report. Thank you for the time and your consideration.
Great, thank you so much, Mr. Pomerantz. That brings us, I don't believe there was any new business or select board member questions this evening. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So that brings us to, we have 3 sets of meeting minutes to approve. The first being from the dangerous dog hearing on August 31st. Was there any changes or issues with those?
I saw
No.
nothing.
I didn't have any changes.
Okay, I didn't either. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that the meeting minutes from the Tuesday, August 31st, 2021 board meeting be approved as submitted.
Second.
Okay, board member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. So those minutes are approved. The next is for September 7th. And that was, was there any changes to those minutes?
I saw nothing.
I didn't have any.
Okay.
So
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for September 7th as presented.
Seconded.
Okay, board member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I was not present, so I'm going to abstain, but the minutes are approved. Next is the minutes for September 21st, 2021. Any changes?
No changes.
Okay. No. All right. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
No. Go ahead, Janice, after you.
Okay. I'll make a motion that the September 21st, 2021 meeting minutes be approved as presented.
I'll second.
Okay. Board member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Those minutes are approved as well. Which brings us to,
I make a motion to adjourn.
Please do.
I will second.
All right. And board member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. And the meeting is adjourned at 8 o'clock.